This is Fox News. You guys are familiar with Fox News, right? They used to matter. Before they were vilified more by Mike Pillow and Donald Trump, they were vilified for years by you and I as, using fair and balanced as like a shield against reality by trademarking the phrase fair and balanced so it doesn't have to mean anything. This is January 6th panel turns focus to Justice Thomas' wife. That's the chyron. But the title of this is Senator Kennedy. This is another attempt to make Republicans look bad. Dude, you do not need any help from us, but take it away. Senator Kennedy, tell us how this is all just a smear campaign against the lily-white, pristine nature of Republicans, the Christian family values party that elevated Donald grab-him-by-the-pussy Trump to the highest office in the land and then followed him up the steps of the Capitol to hang his vice president, who was only installed next to him by the party to get the stank of misogynistic grotesqueness off of him, and let evangelicals have an excuse to vote for him.
I want to bring in Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy on this now. Senator, good morning to you. Got two topics for you, but I first want to...
Well, let me tell you something about this, son. I'm very upset today. 7 late show staffers arrested at the U.S. Capitol.
Right, because Triumph the Insult Comic Dog went into another hallway to talk to people.
Start with this Colbert thing.
Yeah, this Colbert thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you heard this, but the Triumph the Comic Dog, Insult Comic Dog, tased a cop till he had a heart attack and took a shit in the rotunda. The shit in the rotunda part, I believe.
How often in your experience do you find people without badges or ID roaming the halls of Congress or the office halls of Congress? And
You mean since January 6th?
This case on the House side. How often does that happen?
Well, not usually.
Well, for me, never.
But I don't go out and talk to the plebes at all. Most of the time, I'm down in the underbelly of the Senate office trying to get a bear out of a hole.
And I don't have any inside information, Bill, but I've read about this, and
Yes, I was close by. I was a couple of doorways away from the whole thing. I have direct access to everyone involved, but I don't. The only thing I know about it is what I've read in the Washington Post, which is a shit rag, except when it agrees with me.
It looks to me like it's just another example of a bunch of agenda journalists trying.
Agenda journalists. You can always spot an agenda journalist because they have a sock puppet dog on their hand with a cigar in his mouth making crass jokes. Agenda journalists. That's hard to say.
Trying to make Democrats look good and Republicans look bad.
Yes, anyone refers to segment producers and comedy writers from the Colbert Show as agenda journalists.
And
by the way, many of you think my teeth are whistling right now, and it's not. I'm breaking wind. It's just very well timed.
that's why
I don't know why I'm on this. Why'd you have to ask me about that? I want to talk about something else, like why I think 4-year-olds need AR-15s.
I've said in another
Ooh, it's starting to get ripe in here.
context, that's why the American people they're not fooled. They trust the media now like they trust gas station sushi. And the media.
I don't live in that highfalutin an area, Senator Kennedy. Most of us who aren't in the Senate and aren't millionaires don't live near gas stations that sell sushi.
Everybody knows that, but not everybody, but many members of the media have no self-awareness. They think they're fooling the American people.
Yeah, they think the American people think that's actually a dog.
Well, my guess is they were shooting skits, but
Yeah, I mean, if I was just spitballing, if I had one idea over another, I would think that was kind of the whole rubber dog with the cigar thing might have made it not strictly speaking, a journalistic endeavor. But I'm glad you read up on it before the segment so we know what the fuck you're talking about.
But I don't have any information to confirm that. I was just trying to read.
Yeah, why would I think that? It's only the Colbert Show and Triumph the Insult Comic Dog was in every story about the fucking thing. Hold on. Colbert, Triumph, Capital. It was my thought that they were possibly shooting sketches. What would ever give you that idea? Fucking hell. You didn't even tee him up with it? Bad segment producing.
Between the lines. And
I was reading between the lines. Wait a minute. You were reading between the lines? You're in a news network, fucko. You don't have access to videos or photo of said experience? I read between the lines? God damn, Bill's fallen so far. I did a salute to the troops years ago with Bill when he was, when Fox still was bordering on sane. There were all the morning crews were at this event. And he, was like ass in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning. Or 4:30, something like that. And we had to do this whole thing for all of the morning shows back east and in LA. And like he was just kind of a nudge Ken doll dude, like a placeholder, like a cardboard cutout. And now he's like, I guess to stay on Fox, this is required.
They were knocking on Republicans' doors and trying to catch them off guard. I mean, it's just agenda journalism.
It's just agenda journalism, trying to catch them off guard with gotcha journalism, like Triumph. Well, I mean, in all fairness to Senator Kennedy, he has no sense of humor.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
he uses kind of like old country phrases to give himself some like rural cred.
Sushi,
trying
right?
to pick sides.
That's the story there.
Trying to get people to pick sides. Yeah, you're either pro rubber dog or not.
The other issue is the protesters outside the homes of these Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, I mean, there were no rubber dogs at that. Bloody protesters at Barrett's home with dolls. Bloody in quotes, obviously, because they covered themselves in blood and they're basically arguing that what Kavanaugh and Barrett are going to result in the deaths of women, not physically threatening the people there. But the idea is like, all right.
Yeah. Now it's written.
Yeah, that I even read less about.
In the law, intimidation is a federal violation. But apparently that's not the case, I guess, if you're on a sidewalk in a neighborhood in Maryland. And over the weekend, they were outside Coney Barrett's home as well. Here is Lieutenant Governor Winsome in the state.
Yeah, these people are very intimidating. Basically you're vacillating between like high betties who couldn't run 8 steps without throwing a knee out and pencil vegans with LGBT flags. Bless their hearts. People just making their voices heard. But this is the crowd that's going to cause a panic. They're outside, George. Look at them. All different colors.
State of Virginia reacting.
One of them's masked. We won't even know who she is. Across her eyes? No, she's wearing a COVID mask outdoors. I didn't know there was anybody that far left anymore.
I have no words when I see these grotesque images that these young girls are carrying. I think to myself,
these grotesque images? You're kidding me, right? Have you seen the anti-choice billboards they hold up? The aborted fetuses and that kind of stuff to like see this is what it looks like and stuff. But this is gross. They tape their hands and are holding a rubber doll and they're bleeding between their crotch. The idea is that it's forced birth. They're making a forced birth thing with props. This is a demonstration.
must be that their parents feel the same and think the same as they do.
their parents feel the same and think the same as they do, because all kids do exactly what their parents tell them to do.
And don't they realize the irony of this? The reason why you are here is because at some point your mother was pro-choice.
Yes, and they chose to have a child, and they may have not died from a malformed birth or a fetus basically skin grafted to their uterine wall that may have killed them. They may have had to choose to have an abortion early so that they could actually raise a child later, or even become pregnant again later, or perhaps not carry the child of their rapist or family member who sexually assaulted them.
The story here, they had apparently props with dolls and
Oh my God, props, dolls. I mean, what's the difference between them and Ted Kaczynski at this point? I don't know.
blood, etc. And
Blood, etc. wasn't real blood. I'm just saying. It's very
I mean, her point is that your mom was pro-choice.
right. And they chose to have them, and you can trust women to make the right choice with their own bodies. Doesn't really help. I'm not a woman, so I don't really get it.
I thought
Forced birth is enslavement. There you go.
this would end.
Yeah, why would you? Well, yeah, of course it would end. I thought this would end the minute, the minute the SCOTUS announced or this draft leaks that they're going to undermine Roe v. Wade and thank you, an ectopic pregnancy. Thank you, Bicycle Mike.
And now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that these protests aren't going to grow through the fall once women's rights are stripped away.
That it ever does.
Yeah, never. Again, what kind of a dickhead thinks that the SCOTUS punting this back to the states so red states and blue states can have women can have different rights depending on where they live. So they have to choose where they move based on whether they want to be a whole person. You really, this asshole really thought that that would end the argument?
Well, this is more than just about abortion. It's about respect for American institutions.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not about abortion. It's about respect for, it's the institutions, the institution of forced birth.
I think most people can see that all of this is being driven
by people who give a shit. They're like many of them hardliners who feel this. I'm sorry. It's probably paid for by George Soros.
by the anti-intellectual, crypto-socialist woke left.
The anti-intellectual, crypto-socialist woke left. Yeah, these are all. We just want to make sure that taxpayers' bitcoins aren't used to pay for forced births.
The Biden administration has embraced, and frankly, that is in charge of in Washington, D.C. When the draft opinion was leaked, the wokers' response was immediate. They
The wokers' response and the women's response was immediate.
said, we don't agree with it, so let's burn the place down.
Yes, I could see the torches. It's like a scene out of Young Frankenstein. The bicycle is the dead giveaway. I mean, you're never going to be able to catch that person. It's got a bell. It's got a light. They can go forever. Look at that. It's even got a mud flap on there. You're not even going to be able to trace the dirt from Amy Coney Barrett's park near her house to... All right.
Let's intimidate the justices.
Yes, let's intimidate them with our displeasure.
Let's intimidate their spouses. Let's intimidate their kids.
I'm not quite sure, again, why those folks... This is just a bad choice of video, Fox. I think you're better off not showing. I think, you know what you might want to try next time? Still shots of the girls with the bleeding crotches and the babies and other stuff, and then just like do a Ken Burns on it with some heavy music, because quite frankly, this just looks like shit. This looks like no one would be afraid of this, and this is just standard protesting.
Let's publish their telephone numbers and addresses on the internet.
Okay, I'm glad that Kennedy has come out as anti-doxing.
And while we're at it, let's
see if the rabbit's got any honey left in his refrigerator.
pack the court and abolish the filibuster.
Yeah, I mean, it's all part of a big scheme.
And what you allow is what will continue. And the Biden
What you allow is what will continue. That's right. No protesting. We should pass a law against protesting. And it's important for all of us to recognize that the First Amendment is basically, there is no separation. If you look at the Texas GOP's platform, the separation of church and state, that's got to go. And abortion's clear. You know, women are the broodmare of the evangelical church. You either got to keep your quiver full of babies and just, shoot them out like a spud gun.
administration has embraced that. I don't think the Biden
I don't think.
administration and most of my Democratic colleagues have pushed back at all. And all of this
What are they supposed to push back on? Honest to God, what are they supposed to push back on? These fuckers, whatever. They aren't open carrying in front of these houses. Going, I'll show you pro-life or some shit like that. Meanwhile, this dude totally supports, if you have displeasure with your government, walking around on the steps of your state capitol armed to the fucking teeth with 30-round magazines duct taped together so you can reload quickly like some sort of, Call of Duty loadout.
shows a remarkable either misunderstanding or disregard for the role of the Supreme Court in American society and in our Constitution.
You mean they shouldn't be activist judges that go against the will of the people when it's drastically in favor of Roe v. Wade staying in place, and that they said it was stare decisis, or that they wouldn't overturn it when they actually were confirmed, and now they're lying about that fact? You mean that? No, that's not what you're saying.
The Supreme Court is not, it's not a political branch.
Yes, Amy Coney Barrett is immensely qualified to be on there. She wasn't put there as a single note voter.
Not supposed to be. They're not many judges. They're not politicians in robes. They're not elected. Their job is to tell us what the Constitution means and tell us what the law is, not
Yeah, and I'm sure you're fine with that when it means the ACA should stay.
what it ought to be. And
By the way, put a pin in that, because that little clip will contradict umpteen speeches that this asshole makes over the next year and a half.
look, something's seriously wrong in this country, and this
That people can show their displeasure with the removal of their rights or the rights of their fellow citizens. I know it's almost as if free speech still exists. I think that's probably his biggest complaint, is that, their complaint is cancel culture is destroying free speech and the big tech companies are destroying free speech. And then you have people protesting, showing that you still have free speech and the government isn't rolling in to stop you to expressing yourself in this regard. And it kind of eats into that narrative.
This is just another example. It's not going to get better until President Biden does something about it.
Well,
It's not going to get better until President Biden does something about it. President Biden doesn't write protest permits in Virginia, for fuck's sake. And he's certainly not going to go, all right, none of this. You can't protest in a neighborhood associated with anybody that does anything that might affect your life permanently. What?
we'll see.
Yes, why don't you talk to the mayor of Falls Church?
Far, not a word on that. And
Yeah, not a word on that. I mean, Biden's completely silent on these 14 people walking down the street carrying LGBT flags. I mean, it's and they might as well have just taken a Confederate flag into the rotunda and taken a shit.
And we could get that Roe decision any day now. We expect it any day now, whether it's this week or next week. Senator, nice to have you on today.
Yes. Next time, try to know less about what we're talking about. I mean, it might be the segment producer's fault, but could you be less well-read, less up-to-date? And this reminds me of the Don Jr. videos where he goes, "We can't let that happen. Guys, we can't let that happen." So when MTG, Cruz, and other jokers are not available, send John Kennedy? Yeah, I guess so. Well, I mean, no, they on this part of the day, this is a fairly regular appearance. He shows up and drops these like little colloquial bombs, that dog won't hunt, shit like that. And they just love how rural he sounds, and basically they're lining him up to be the next Mitch McConnell, is the theory, that he's their long game for an elder statesman of what's left of the Republican Party, and Kennedy will fall in and be the majority leader or something like that at some point in the next couple of years if McConnell drops out. So, yeah.
John Kennedy in Louisiana today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and it's a wonderful thing to be here, and I couldn't be happier to talk about stuff that I have not really, I'm not even, was there a rubber dog